I have 8 numbers here, and you'll pick 3 of them, and then depending on what questions you get, that's where we're going to start.
Okay. Let's go with 4.
This one makes me very happy. We're calling it Running Up That Hill. I know you've probably been asked a million times what your song would be, so I'm going to flip it around and ask for your movie. If Vecna had you in his mindscape, what movie could your friends play in order to bring you out of it?
Wow, that's a good one. My all-time favorite movie is something called it's called The Fall, but I think also I was just talking about Pirates of the Caribbean last night. It's just like a very quotable. I could watch that movie all day. So maybe Pirates, I think.
Pirates is solid, but can we go back to The Fall for a minute? Because that is a stunning film.
I know it's I mean it's breathtaking. It's gorgeous. And it's funny I don't think you can stream it anywhere. And I keep talking, I'm like, you have to watch this movie, but I think I have to get a DVD and a DVD player to show people this movie. Or I guess you could like illegally download it.
Wow.
But just so beautiful, so good.
Number 2 for you. What is your next number?
How about 7?
I get a little obsessed with looking at everybody's trivia page, and I was shocked that you had very few things on your page. So if you could add a super random fact about yourself to that lineup of facts, what would it be?
I have double jointed elbows and hypermobile elbows. That feels pretty random.
I have to ask you now for a demonstration. Is that something you can show us?
Well, I've got these let's see if I can get this off.
I had someone show me their double jointed thumbs recently.
Oh, no,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. They're a little funny.
All right, you have one more pick here. What is your last number?
5?
Can you give us one audition high and then also an audition low and tell us what you learned from that low?
I mean, Stranger Things is a pretty high. And low. It was one of those things that it was an audition that I had. There were like 3 stages, and at least for the first 2, I really thought I just screwed it up. Just did not do good. I walked out of there being like, I think I'm gonna quit. I think I'm, what am I doing here? Why am I even trying? That was awful. You're terrible. But then getting the feedback of like, oh, they loved you. It's a really the audition world is such a funny mental space because I'm really, I don't know, you think you have a read on people. They could be like really nice and like you never hear from them, or like they say nothing and they're like they really loved you. So it's a bit, I feel like that alone is a bit of a high-low situation. Low in the moment, but then, paid off in the end.
I could see that. Just to follow up on that a little, so you walk out of the audition thinking that you didn't give them what they wanted, but then you find out that they did like you. What is it like going into the next round? How do you kind of find the balance between how you felt personally, but also knowing that they actually liked what you did before?
Yeah, it's wild, right? It's a whole like internal roller coaster. You think, okay, well, good. I got my foot in the door again, and like I'll just really like this time I'll be good. I'll be on it. I don't know. It's funny. I can't even exactly remember why I felt so off about it thinking back, but I just remember leaving both of those like, no, just quit. Just stop now. I don't know. It's a really funny thing. Nowadays you do a lot more tapes. So, there's less of those, waiting room moments of going in and the adrenaline and then leaving and either feeling like, just like, you like nailed it. You feel amazing. Or you're like, just throw it in the trash and you're like, well, that sucked. Well, I sucked. Actors, really fun people, really.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back for a brand new edition of Collider Ladies Night. Get to do another Stranger Things episode, and that makes me so damn happy. Natalia Dyer is here on the show. Hello, welcome, and congratulations.
Hi, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Do you remember the point where, I don't know, you said to yourself or maybe to your parents, like, this is the career that I want to pursue, and maybe deciding on what the first steps to take would be in order to get there?
Well, it's funny. It's actually, it was very organic. My mom, was a mom, a really lovely mom, and she just wanted. I had an older sister when I was. I mean, I still have an older sister. I have a younger sister as well, but I just had the older one then, and she was really into finding sort of like extracurriculars for her children. And I mean, I did we did soccer and ice skating and dance class and painting and sculpture and sports, and we would try it for a little bit, and then if we didn't like it, it's like, okay, we'll find something else that you like. It was a bit of like a privilege and a luxury, and really lovely of her to do that. But I was at a summer camp, and it kind of got into this drama class, and yeah, I just really liked it. And I think she could tell, and we started like going to auditions just locally for like little like community theater things. And it just kind of like took. I just was very in love with that world and doing it. And my parents are not, my mom didn't know anything about it, but she was just very committed to like taking me to auditions and taking me to rehearsals and just like allowing me to keep wanting to, being able to do the thing that I really enjoyed doing as a kid. And then, yeah, at some point, I don't know, you just keep doing auditions and things. And, so it never really felt like, oh, like career for the rest of my life. That's my income. That's, I never really thought about it too much in that way until I got into maybe like, college, and just, kind of like supporting yourself financially, and looking at like, well, what else do you want to do? What else can you see yourself doing? But it's a very, it's a tough industry to decide that it's what you want to be, because so much of it is out of your control.
What is the biggest difference between the Nancy that you were first presented when you first booked the role compared to the person who she turned out to be?
Gosh, yeah, I mean, the guns, the clothes, the perm. There is an essence of her that I think is carried through really nicely, that kind of, ties these two ends of the spectrum together pretty well, which is like this sort of like intuition, gut, instinct, to sort of, follow her, you know, her own brain and her own path. But I mean, yeah, it's, I think she was a lot more concerned with appearances and school and success and achieving in her small understanding of her small town. I think she always was very ambitious, but I just think her ideas of what that means and what that can be have shifted wildly. And she's really kind of, stepped into this totally new, exciting, brave, powerful side of herself. It's fun. It's fun to play.
She's obviously grown a lot over the course of the 4 seasons. So, looking back at all the scenes you filmed, is there any in particular that you would say defined Nancy for you the most, where the second you did it or you read it, something about it made you think, like, I really get her right now and I know what she's capable of?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I think whenever she sort of, it's interesting whenever she sort of blatantly throws herself into danger, I think, because there's something about her initially, at least, that felt maybe a little more timid and a little more play by the rules. And I think, things like season 1, even like going into the tree, like getting, like the first time she was like getting, got a gun. And like, I think there's a lot of times in this season where every time she just, is kind of like, I'm gonna, I don't care about necessarily like me, or the fact that I'm not thinking about it as much as I'm trying to figure this out or get to the bottom of it or stop something. I think that says a lot, that she is just very kind of focused, and she's not perfect, and I think she makes a lot of mistakes, and she, I think within that there's caveats in it, of pros and cons. But I think it does really inform character who's just decides like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're doing. This is what needs to be done in this moment right now. And like, I'm going to do it.
Looking back again, because, I don't want to describe these as impulsive decisions, because I think they're decisions that she earned the right to make, but she does often have a habit of just jumping into the deep end when she needs to step up. So, given that kind of knee jerk type of decision, is there any particular moment for Nancy that required, I guess, a little discussing with the Duffers or any of the writers or directors?
There's a lot we don't see on screen probably that I have questions about. Like maybe her gun training and like how often she goes and like shoots these guns and all of that stuff. But I think really with her, some of the decisions I like to discuss are a little more of the like personal relationship, you know, interpersonal dynamics of how she talks to people sometimes, or who she, thinks about. There's one in season 3. I remember that Nancy and Jonathan have a scene, and there was an initial version that, I mean, we both felt was a little like harsh, and and she was just very like very very focused to the point of like, I was like, would she say that? Like, would she not care at all about this? And they're the nice thing is they're very open to talking with us and kind of, working out what feels right. But sometimes, in such a massive show with so many like plot driven, exciting elements, I think, sometimes you really want to like fine tune the personal, character moments.
Whether it's Steve or Jonathan or literally any single main character in this ensemble. And this is more theorizing because I know you guys, like, they haven't even finished scripting season 5, but going forward, in your opinion at this point, who do you think Nancy would have the most to gain from?
I think Nancy and Robin, it's a really fun dynamic, and they're so different, but they're both very smart women, which we love that. We love to see it. We love to play it. That was we were both really excited about getting to do that this season. And I think it's been, I don't know, from what I've seen, like people seem to enjoy it as well, which is nice, because I think it's a nice, gratifying relationship dynamic.
Count me as one of those people. I have to ask you about working with Maya. So you're working with an incredible ensemble for years, but what is something about her in particular that makes her stand out as a scene partner that you really appreciated?
Oh gosh, I mean, she works. She's very talented, and I think especially in this role is really funny because she has so much dialogue sometimes to fit in this little chunk, and just in a very like Robin way, and she always nails it. But she's just, she's just lovely to play with. She's very giving. She's really fun to watch. She's really fun to kind of play off of. She's very present with it, and that's just such a gift to be able to work with.
Jumping into a specific moment now in episode 8, what was it like for you trying to figure out how much fear to exude when Nancy comes out of Vecna's mindscape, where he basically explains to her what is going to happen? Because after she explains to the group, then all of a sudden she goes back to that fight. So, how do you figure out how much fear to convey while also being able to make that pivot back to Nancy wanting to step up and take him down?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think Nancy really does compartmentalize a lot of emotions. I think since season 1 and everything that they've been through, I think her sort of coping mechanism is just like logic and focus and fight, and just like, not accepting like that as a reality. Like I can't, not like letting herself crumple into her feelings. And I think with the whole Vecna journey, it's like this thing of like she knows what's going on. It's still like it's scary, but he's just trying to trick her, and there's a lot of, so she's very smart. And I think, like there's a little bit of that it's shifting of like, that was insane, but also what can I do about it? I think that's, since season 1, it's like, okay, this is wild, this is scary, this is heartbreaking, but like what can I do to like change that outcome and like to change this feeling in myself, probably. But yeah, she's funny. Yeah, she's pretty tough, I think, with herself and her emotions.
I feel like I aspire to be like Nancy in the face of challenging moments where I process it realistically, but then I'm like, okay, now what do I do in order to fix this?
Yeah, no, she's got a quick turnaround for sure. That wouldn't be me at all. I like tend to really crumple in the face of adversity sometimes.
I got a little touch of that myself. All right, so now taking that kind of an idea and applying it to the very last shot of you in Stranger Things 4. I know you don't know anything about what's to come in season 5, but when you're playing a beat like that and you have to, give off a certain expression so that we know how she's feeling, what are some of your goals for a moment like that, especially with the balance of, terror of what could come, but also that fight that I love in Nancy so much and I want to see more of?
Yes, I mean that was that was a funny day. Not to, I mean, it doesn't, spoil the sort of that world of it, but it was like it was an entire day to shoot that one scene of being on the hill and looking into the distance, and obviously what we, what the what the shot is that you see in the show is not what we're looking at. So it's kind of like, imagine this. So we're all standing on this like very very hot hill all day, just like looking at this line of trees, imagining like something terrible. So so which moment they catch on camera, you never know. But yeah, I think it's for Nancy, it's there's a moment of shock. I think I think maybe prior to that there was a little bit more calm, or a little more faith and hoping that things would work out, and then seeing that as just a big like, oh no. But I'm sure in her mind it's an oh no, okay, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean?
I need to thank you for your time today and congratulations. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. But wow, like to see a show like Stranger Things just come out so damn hot and then really keep the bar that high through 4 really complicated seasons is something else.
Thank you so much.